check. Hey, gather around, gather around. All right, get your last little bit of I'll see you later, I'll see you soon, I'll talk to you after the events out of the way. Find yourself a seat. And I'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to this event, to Where Are They Now? We're here at the offices of Instrument. It's also the home for Vanport Studios. I'm Leon Anderson. I serve as president of Instrument. I've been here for 7 years. And that entire time we've been honored and excited to be partnering with Pitch Black and Steven in moving things forward, whether that's with financial investment or whether that's actually hosting the first 2 Pitch Blacks here in our Instrument offices. What do we do? I think I'm required to say that a little bit. So we're a digital and technology company that really focuses on helping brands achieve their full potential. So whether that's digital touch point, so the apps, the websites that you visit every day, or whether that's a resonant brand message that really helps move the needle of that brand's message, or whether that's an engaging campaign that you might see out of office, or you might see on your pre-roll before your favorite Netflix show. By the way, you can pay extra for without commercials, but it's not worth it. So, really happy to have you all here in this space. It's cold outside, but I know that Steven and Bethany are going to heat it up here. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage Bethany from Autodesk and Stephen Green from Vanport Studios and Built.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome, sir. I'm going to exit.
Bethany, come on and join me.
Man, he said we gotta heat it up. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, that was awkward, Leon. I'm not
Gotta
gonna
heat
lie.
it up.
You said we were gonna heat it up, and I was like, yo, what?
Oh, am I gonna go? Okay, according to the show, you were gonna go, and then I was gonna go. But hello, everyone. Welcome here. Thank you, Stephen, for inviting me to come and give the welcome and speak to a little bit about Autodesk. I've worked for them for about 10 years. What I do love about Autodesk is their commitment to diversity in the community. One of the reasons we are a sponsor is that we know entrepreneurship moves the community, and without it, it goes stagnant and it has an economic effect. Most importantly, without a diverse group, people are being left behind, underserved communities. And when I look in this group, I see so much diversity, and that's what I love about Autodesk. It's the reason I took this position, was so I can be in these rooms, speak to these rooms. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. I look forward to hearing from everyone. Thank you, Stephen, and yeah. I hope that was fire.
Are you warm, Leon?
Are you warm yet? Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Bethany was being really, really humble. So one of the reasons why we had Autodesk up here to talk was they've been supporters of all of our work at Built Oregon, Vanport Studio, Pitch Black, and Pi since the beginning. In fact, they even go as far as before we even have an event happening, they will ping us and be like, "Hey, we've got money, we're ready to sponsor. What are you guys going to be doing? Do you guys need some help? How can we be supportive?" And so it's been a really great relationship, leveraging their space, their time, their talent. Miguel is here as well from their team, and so we're really honored to have them. Juan wants me to sit down, so I'm going to sit down, even though I'd normally be standing up. But for the people on the live stream, here we are. We have heads. So this is Rick's brainchild. We've been talking about this for years. For folks that have been to either Pitch Black or some of the Pi demo days, we've had some amazing, amazing founders over the year. And so this is the first event this year where we're going to be highlighting Black founders that are alumni. Next month, we'll be highlighting female founders that are also alumni of our programs. And so this is just a really great way to kick it off. For folks, who's been to a Pitch Black event previously? Woo! Yes. So 2 of them we had here. I think 4 of the folks that you're going to be hearing from were either 2016 or 2017 here. For Pitch Black, we've had over 80 people hit our stage. They've gone on to raise over $500 million for the work that they're doing throughout the country. Super, super exciting stuff. And so excited to hear from some of the folks today. So with that, let's get it rolling. First up, Lestarya Molloy. Hello, hello. Is that everything on?
Here? Yep.
We're hot.
We're good.
All right. Lestarya, former engineer at Intel, right? Now running 3D Outdoors.
Yes.
I've got 3 questions for you.
All right.
I wish we had more time. Literally, this could be an event where I just sit down with one person for the next hour, but that's not today. So first question that I have for you, how does someone go from being an engineer at Intel to help getting BIPOC folks to go outside?
Man, it's been a journey. Let's see, I started as a human factors engineer and then moved to product management, where I was literally building out the next generation of cars. Most of the ones on the road are ones I worked on. So, but after that, it was amazing. I moved to robotics, and somehow, I don't know, my heart, I was just like, man, I'm making the world more efficient, but if people don't feel safe and comfortable going outdoors, you know, what are they going to be doing with their time when we have all this more leisure time? And so I thought it was just as important to bring new technology that makes us more efficient, but then really help people lean into this life of leisure and getting outdoors, which is really what we need right now. And we're going to be, I think, having more time to do that in the future as technology progresses.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit more about what your company does and what you've been up to since Pitch Black 2 years ago when you were on stage.
Yeah. Okay, so Friday Outdoors, we're really about empowering people to get out camping and outdoors. And we're doing that through, I call it the outdoor know-how, the skill building, and through our Friday Outdoors app, which works offline. Since pitching at Pitch Black, that was amazing. Let's see, we've grown from our MVP, which is what I had on stage. We are making our biggest updates this year, literally since our MVP launch. We have expanded from REI being in 1 store to now over 10 stores, and we've got a few more partnerships that we're going to be announcing. So I can definitely say we've impacted a lot of people getting out to camping who wouldn't otherwise. To be specific, 90% of our users have said they've experienced increased self-confidence getting outdoors, and 75% are spending more time outside as a result of using the Friday Outdoors app. So we're doing what we said we'd do, getting people out, and particularly people of color who didn't feel safe in these spaces, and we're making that possible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You're one of the few companies that really touches on many of the special things around the Portland area, the outdoors, technology. What role do you think being in Portland has played in your company existing? Do you think this could have happened in San Francisco or LA or New York in typical tech hotbeds?
Man, there's no place like Oregon, okay? Like, let's be real. I mean, how many states have communities like this that come out to support founders? How many cities can really fill an auditorium of 600 people who are there to just pour into people who are starting companies? For me specifically, it's been such an advantage being based here in Portland because of the outdoor scene. We have multiple outdoor companies, and so that's allowed me to really build relationships and partnerships that would have been difficult otherwise. And then also being here in the tech, there are so many tech companies, it's really helped have a network to start and then just kind of build from. And not to mention, like, thank you for all you do, Built Oregon, Pitch Black, like, it makes a difference. And I think my journey would be really different if I was building anywhere else. So, and I truly, truly mean that.
Awesome. Thank you. What advice do you have for someone who wants to jump from their career? I think for a lot of folks hearing that you were an engineer, you've made it, you're living the life, dream job. What advice do you have for somebody who's thinking about leaving their career?
Ooh, there's a lot of ideas. Everyone has ideas, but it's the ideas that, for me, it was testing out my idea of making outdoor skills more accessible, seeing if it would make a difference in people's life. Would they use it? They did. And so that's where I think it was a year into it, I had enough traction that I decided to go full-time on Friday Outdoors and really just give it what I thought it needed to take it to the next level. So I think have an idea, test, iterate, and be good with really honest feedback, right? And just building out from there. So that would be my tips.
Thank you. Where can people find out more about what you're working on?
Yeah, FridayOutdoors.com, and then we're in both app stores for iOS and Android. So yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Ian Williams. For those that don't know, Ian and I knew each other while he was working at Nike. He was a product developer there, or a designer. Would you
Not
call
a designer.
yourself a
No.
Inside joke.
Yeah. Everybody thinks I design, but I can't draw.
And now a James Beard Award-winning coffee personality, like all these amazing things. He just got back from Japan. All this great stuff.
I like Japan.
We're going to start with your first question. Why did you leave your dream job? This man literally has his own Nike shoe. While he was a janitor at Nike, the Nike skateboarding team made him his own shoe. So when I say leave your dream job, like it was his dream to work in sneakers, and you left all that to grind beans.
Yeah.
And you don't like coffee?
No.
Too, right?
Yeah. Where do I start? I was born. No, I'm just kidding. So I really worked hard to get to what I got at Nike. And there's like a whole long story behind that, of course. But I just really felt that what I loved about footwear and like the reason why I worked so hard to get into that like Nike thing was because I loved the sneaker community. When I finally got, I guess like inside, I started to understand that the community wasn't there. The community was outside of there. And so for me, coffee shops or what I, food, like restaurants, bars, cafes, all that kind of stuff, even like fitness, like gyms, like group fitness are where the community goes to gather. And so I realized that was where the community was the community was outside of my desk or outside of where I was working. And I wanted to bring the people back together. And I just saw that coffee was the way to do so. So that's how I got started doing coffee stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Ian's got all sorts of accolades, but my next question for him may surprise some of you folks. How many times have you quit Deadstock?
I have quit Deadstock at least 5 times. I will be, and Steven knows I'm being completely honest, one of them was today. And so, as great as things are, a lot of times, I think when you go into entrepreneurship, one of the things that people don't really talk to you much about is, the strain that it really does take on your life. I definitely want to talk about the great things, right? We can talk about the great things. Amen. It's tough on relationships, whether it be personal, family, business relationships. It's tough on your money. It's tough on your health. And so it definitely gets really difficult from time to time. So, trying to figure out what is important for you in your life is the hardest part. And so, I quit all the time. Yeah.
I think one of the things when you look at the work that we do with Pi and Built and Pitch Black, we spend a lot of time just on the founders themselves. We're the ones that oftentimes they're crying with, they're complaining with, they're doing all these other things because they just don't have other spaces to do that. And being able to give them healthy spots to do that is really important to helping them take the next steps forward and do whatever they need to do next. And also, I think some of our biggest successes has been helping people close down their businesses.
Honestly. I think I know it's not a question. I'm gonna keep going. It really has been important. I think there's a lot of organizations in the world. There's a lot of entities that help people, but a lot of times the people who are connected to it don't get the respect and the appreciation. So, Stephen, Rick, Mitch, and like everybody who they've all connected everybody with. If you got a question, or if you have, whether it be about how do I raise money or how do I shut it down, they got your back. And so they're right. I mean, I've laughed with them, cried with them, and they really do just have your back. So I gotta give y'all props on that.
Last question for you. We're celebrating 10 years this year. Whew.
Yeah.
And then,
Yep, 10 years since I was in Compound. You know what I'm saying? My
30
man Herb, yeah, let's go.
It feels like 30 years in like 10 minutes at the same
for
time.
real.
But
Somehow that stock is older than I am.
right?
Yeah.
Right? What do you wish you would have known back in 2015 that you know today?
Everything. I think something that Stephen has always said and that I use when I am talking to other people about whatever it might be. Stephen's phrase is, you don't know what you don't know. And so when you first go into it, you're first learning, listening, whatever, you're so excited. Everything is so easy, or maybe you think it's so easy. When I say everything, I really do mean that. But I think finance is the one that I really wish that I had gotten a better hold on early. And then also just, it's really tough just knowing that things are going to be a little bit harder. And by little, I mean like a little bit harder than you think it's going to be. And I think if more people knew that, they probably wouldn't start, right? But you got to be a little bit crazy to do this. Yeah. So shout out to all y'all crazy people out there. But yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. I don't know who's next.
Now we've got a chemist joining me for the chat. Mrs. Paula Hayes, trustee at Lewis & Clark, Inglewood native. Inglewood is definitely in the house.
Hi.
Hi.
And
nice
go
to see you.
Pios. Not for long, so change the mascot.
Let's start there. How'd you end up in Portland, Paula?
I ended up in Portland initially for college. I went to Lewis & Clark College. I knew I wanted to major in biology. I knew I wanted to minor in chemistry, and I knew I wanted a small school. I'm from Inglewood, from LA, but I went to a small little Catholic high school, and I wanted a place where I wouldn't get lost in the crowd. I didn't want to become a number. I wanted a place where the professors knew me and cared about me and could help nurture me. Yeah, that's how I ended up here initially. And I fell in love with it by the end. I wouldn't have told you that in the beginning. There was way too much rain. But by the time I was back in LA, I returned there after I graduated, I just saw possibilities for myself here. And along the way, met my husband, we had kids, and we talked about where else we might want to live. And I said Portland, and he said Portland, Maine. And I said, no, Portland, Oregon. You can find community there. And I think it'd be a good place for us. And it's been 17 years now. Yeah.
And one of your fellow high schoolers is here running a school, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's interesting that me and Dwayne Edwards are, living in the same place, both from Inglewood, known each other since high school. In fact, when my husband was taking a job with Nike, I called Dwayne and said, talk to him so we can figure out how to get there.
I love how small Portland is.
Yeah.
My next question for you is really pointed towards the work you've been doing for a long time, but you've been out in these streets, as they say, in these business streets.
Been in these streets.
With Target being in the news today, tell us about what you learned about working with large corporations. And I know I'm opening up a lot here.
You see my smile. You know what? Large corporations are really interesting, particularly when you are a small, not necessarily a startup, but a smaller brand. They're not really used to working with small companies. So the kinds of things that they expect you to be able to do just aren't reasonable. So they tend to want to fit you into a system that already exists. And many of them are figuring out that if they want to have innovative products that are other than the things you always see, they've got to learn how to work with smaller entrepreneurs. I still think they have a ways to go. Some of it has to do with the systems. And by now, I've been in Target, I've been in Sally, I've been in Costco, I've been in many of those stores. My favorite are the regional boutiques because they have a lot more flexibility, and I think that's what you need as a small company. But if I learned anything, I learned how to approach deals. And so I pulled back from some deals because they just weren't making sense. But I'm now at a place where I'm beginning to look at retail deals again, but I know a lot more, and I'm not being reactive, and I'm asking for the things that I know I need up front.
Yeah, when we were expanding a Kids Co. and our books, Target reached out, and our first phone call was to Paula, and it was a very frank conversation of this is what's good and this is what's bad, and I think what we learned was what it takes for us to make money is very different than what it takes for them to put product on the shelves.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, I think the other question that I have for you around this is what questions should Black founders be asking before they let their product go on these shelves?
I think it's important to ask not only about placement and guaranteed placement, because they can switch it on you in a heartbeat, and once you're there, you're there. What they're going to do to help you promote in their systems. Remember, they are a system, so it's not like you can walk up to the store with your phone and ask everyone to come meet you there. It doesn't work that way. I think you also have to be clear not only about their terms, but you need to be really clear about what it is you need to succeed in their environment. And if you're frank and upfront, then it's about whether or not they're going to work with you, because you're going to have ebbs and flows. But you never want to be in a position where they are either controlling your product, telling you what to do with your product, and or when things aren't working, beginning to discount your product, especially when you're working with other retailers. That can get you in a lot of trouble.
Gotcha. What's UNOIR up to in 2025?
UNOIR 2025, you see the big smile on my face. So we've done a lot of work over the last few years. Doing Pitch Black was really reaffirming to me that there is a need for my products, and I can't imagine a world without UNOIR products. So we've been leveling up not only the brand, but also some of our innovation. I'm wearing one of our new innovations now. It's a hydrating, nano hydration lipstick that's long lasting. It does everything you need, but with skin barrier protection. And you normally can't get that in one system. So we've been innovating.
I said she was a chemist. Y'all heard me. She's serious about this.
But continuing to expand not only our offerings, but I've been at this now enough that I get contacted by other companies. And I started my career looking at stores where I had worked on products for companies and seeing them sitting on store shelves. So now I'm doing a bit of seeing my own product on store shelves, but also opening the possibilities for other brands all across the personal care space. So it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Thank you, Paula.
Yep. Oh, can I do one last plug? Okay. One last little plug. If anyone wants to try us, we're doing an anthropology pop-up, Bridgeport Village, this Saturday, 12 to 4.
Anthropology. Okay. I know where my teenage daughter will be this weekend. Herbert Beauclere, H-Town.
What's happening?
LA is in the house yet again. Something about our little pipeline happening right here.
Hey, I love
It's
the
a good
connection.
one.
I like how you stagger the interviews.
Rick did this. I'll take credit. I'll take it. But, it was Rick. So Herbert's one of the few folks coming up that what he pitched with Pitch Black is very different than what he's doing today. Tell us about what you pitched at Pitch Black, literally right there, back in 2016.
Yeah, well, shout out to Instrument, because now, when I come back, it just feels like, man, it was like a moment. And I was super nervous. Traditionally, I'm an industrial designer by trade. And so when you asked about, hey, do you have an idea? It was all about product. And marijuana was legal at the time. And it was a big deal around, how is everybody going to react? And so I was like, oh, it would be dope to no pun intended, to
Totally intended.
to create a bag. And so I was working at Pencil. We had a lot of really great designers, and they were showing me how to make bags. And then so I pitched something called Dime Quality Carriers, which was like discrete, independent, modular essentials for folks that commute to work that, you know, partake in medicinal or recreational marijuana. And I didn't win.
Everyone left with money. Hey, don't try that.
I mean, I left with a lot more than, you know, the grand prize, I feel like.
Yeah. And I know it's grown over the years, but as Ian likes to remind me, but yes, no, it was fun. Next question for you. What changes have you seen happen in the industry since you started Sneaker Week? And tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. So a year after I did Pitch Black, that was like the first business I ever pitched. I pitched another business to my boss at the time, Dwayne Edwards. And I looked at him and I was like, hey man, Portland has a nacho week, a whiskey week, pizza week. I was like, what about a sneaker week? And he was like, yeah, you should do it.
That's him getting excited
And
too.
Yeah, that's him super excited. And he said yes. So I was like, okay, I get shut down all the time. But since then, you know, with this another idea, I think Pitch Black like gave me the mindset of like looking at things, you know, not just from like an idea, but like how can you actually make this happen, right? And we had to prove our case during the pitches. And so took that idea, created this week-long festival that connects people to opportunities within the footwear industry, but also celebrates the sneaker community, which is very diverse. And I was telling somebody before, it's like this place is significant to me because Instrument, you know, hosted Pitch Black. It's hosted a series of other like diverse campaigns, and you introduced me to someone named Rachel. Shout out to Rachel Connington. She now works at Instrument, and she invited me back to like share the work that I was doing. I was like, man, low key, it kind of started here as well. And so I've seen a lot more of like, obviously diversity, like celebrating community, really take off within the footwear industry, and you also hear about the commitments that they made, and we were able to actually work with Rachel to host the African American Footwear Forum, which was like the first time ever multiple brands like came together for one mission. So, yeah, seen a lot of that.
Super dope. You're an example of a true creative becoming an entrepreneur, which is a relatively rare thing. What are some of the keys for creatives to become successful entrepreneurs? And will you take a shot at the backpack again in the future?
A shot at the backpack again, possibly. I've got tons of really good like materials at home. And now everybody's warmed up to it. Like you can't tell who doesn't partake now. But as a creative, like from school, it just taught me about like the creative process. And one thing that I learned from my mentor, Dwayne, was he was like, it's the same process when it comes to business. You know, you identify the problem, you know, hash out some ideas, like you find out what works, what doesn't work. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes, you know, that means like learning and failing in real time, which Ian alluded to, you know, is painstaking. And specifically when you're doing it in public as well, it's very hard to like see those failures or, you know, for people to see those failures. But I think the idea that like I've embodied the process, and you hear a lot of people talk about it's about the journey, it's not about the result. It's like that's what kind of keeps me sparked, you know, as a creative is like I love the process. The process is dope because there's always going to be a challenge. And for people that can't draw, like Ian said, it's like you can approach any problem, quote unquote, creatively, right? So like why aren't we all creative? Like that's kind of how I look at it. So for people that want to be an entrepreneur, it's tough, but if you like embrace the process and if you empower yourself to be creative, that's like my slogan. If you guys go on my Instagram, it's empower to create and create to empower. But like we're all creative, and I would say approach your entrepreneurship, your business, any mindset as a creative, and I think you'll get a lot further.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Precious, we got you up next. Sneaking out from behind there. Precious Shannon King, Mr. OK's essential candles, right? Tell us about your time working at Nike and how it prepared you to become a founder, if at all. It may have told you like what not to do. I mean, that's also an option.
Wow, my time working at Nike, it was so long ago. No, it wasn't. It was not long ago. I did a lot of things at Nike. I worked in a lot of different departments. And I think just having the opportunity to work in so many different departments, it opened me up to understanding how business was conducted. So I don't know, it just opened a door. And it was like, if I can understand margins, if I can understand design, if I can understand how to communicate with consumers and understand their psychology, then I should be able to do this in a different type of product that isn't necessarily like footwear or apparel.
Gotcha. Tell us a little bit about Mr. OK's and why you chose making candles and bringing people together.
Well, Mr. OK is here.
Where my man at? Where
He's
Onyx
right
at?
there.
Oh, there he is.
That's Mr. OK.
Onyx in the house.
So the reason why I started Mr. OK was because we were burning really bad candles in our house. Toxins filled our air. And I don't know what it is about having a kid, especially from a mom's perspective, but I feel like chemically something happens in your brain. You're like, what am I doing? What am I burning? You've been burning this your whole entire life. It never like hit you, but it was just something about the black smoke coming off a candle. So I said, you know what? I need to create something that's, I need to create something that's.
That was smooth right there.
You know.
That was smooth.
Let me zoom in on that. I need to create something sexy, you know, with a wooden wick that lasts 50 to 60 hours of burn time, 100% soy, handcrafted.
I see you right now. I see you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What are some of the learnings from doing events that you want to share with other CPG founders?
Oh man, patience. You have to have patience. People don't read. And I say that with grace. People do not read. And when they don't read after the third email that you've sent and it says the same exact thing, go to sleep and then wake up and answer the email after that. That is definitely one thing that I have learned. I have also learned that customer service is key. Eye contact will take you so far. People love eye contact. People love to know that they're talking to a person and not just somebody who's just trying to take their money. We're all trying to get to the same place at the end of the day. We're all trying to have a great time. And after doing Pitch Black, like I recently ran the numbers and it was crazy. When we did Pitch Black, we had like 675 experiences that we had done. Since then, we've done an additional 860. And it just has been the amount of people that I have met, the amount of just experiences, seeing people smile, seeing people actually create their candle and like take it home and burn it. And it's like, oh my goodness, this was something that I did. It's just, it's a vibe, but it's cool. You feel me?
Oh, I feel you, and I've been there and done that, so you know I feel you.
Yeah.
Tell us about what's coming up in 2025 for you and beyond. And like right now, you've got a location over on Northeast Alberta Street.
Yeah.
You do a lot of experiences all over. You were just in the Gorge, doing something there. What else can we expect to see from you here in the near future?
I want to expand the experience. I want to actually bring what I brought to Pitch Black. If I was in Pitch Black last year, and I actually want to bring my scent experience to life. I feel like Portland is such a great place to do that, and to expand it from a perspective of like just having a place where people can come and experience scent from a different perspective. People just answering questions that they never really thought about with scent. And figuring out where they would want this scent to live is something that I'm really honing in on in 2025.
We do have a shop on Alberta Street, 1458 Northeast Alberta. We the red doors, the only red doors on the block, so you can't miss us. But yeah, that's what I plan to do.
That's awesome. Anything else you want to tell us before you get out?
Stop burning them bad candles in your house.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Damola Omotosho.
Mr. Green.
This is another one that could be like next 3 hours with this guy. Damola is the epitome of side hustles on side hustles on side hustles. There's some people that they're corporate folks or they're not corporate folks. Damola is like a native in both of those worlds, and it's very uncommon thing that you will ever find. And on top of that, he is also like the first person to be like helping someone make an app in Wisconsin just because he's got some time on his hands, right? So first question for you, how do you manage to have so many side hustles with your day job as a vice president, partner at Microsoft? Well, it's hard for me to keep up with the title.
CTO in residence.
Hey, all right,
So
all right.
I work with startups and entrepreneurs, but I love that question just because for me, it actually started from the day job. I worked at Intel. I came here in 2011, and Intel was one of the sponsors for Startup Weekend, which for anyone who knows, it's a weekend accelerator. They were sponsoring it. They had 2 free tickets for employees, and I was one of the ones who got a chance to go. This was my first year at Intel, and it was amazing. You know, I got to take the skills I was learning at work for 72 hours, build something, pitch it, get feedback, and I was, as they say, hooked, right? So that happened very early in my career where I saw the skills and the things that I had learned to do my day job would actually work really well in the startup world and sphere, and have just been building and working on whether it's my projects or others' projects ever since.
Damola is literally, if you have an idea for an app, you can just email him. And by the end of the weekend, he will probably have a version of that app ready to go, because that's how he spends his time. My next question for you, how does being a founder in Portland help you or hurt you? Damola is from the East Coast. He's went to some amazing schools. He's an engineer. He's easy on the eyes. He could live anywhere and be anywhere he wants. He chooses to be here in Portland.
Once again, another question I love, and honestly, it's just the community, you know. So I didn't know a lot about entrepreneurship growing up. I mean, I was always into the hustle and trying to, you know, find a way to make money as a kid. But coming out here, you realize that there's amazing combination of creative, tech, you know, Nike's out here. You have just so many people with dreams and visions who are very passionate, right, about either what they're doing or what they're building. I mean, everybody that's come up here believes in what they're doing, right? And then, you know, Portland as a community has just been so supportive, right? I mean, whether it's events like Pitch Black, whether it's Rick, or, you know, folks like, you know, John Maroney, or just, you know, the different organizations like Ty, and, you know, OEM. I'm going to shout everybody out because honestly, like, if there's a program in Portland, I've probably been a part of it or participated. And so for me, it takes a lot to be a founder, to be an entrepreneur, and to keep going. And this community is actually incredibly supportive. And so for me, it's like, you know, you could be in Silicon Valley, you could be anywhere else, but Portland is that like perfect balance of, you know, a small town, small city, but with a lot of aspiration and a lot of potential. And I love that.
That's awesome. Another question for you, since we got a little bit of time. How do you look at the balance between community versus being a builder? You seem to be someone who so naturally vacillates between understanding how to make deposits in both simultaneously almost, but you're not only someone who's going to build something, but you're also going to be someone when Rick has a thing, you're going to show up and be a thing because Rick said he has a thing. You're not even going to question what it is.
Once again, for me, it's kind of like the motivation, right? So one of the things I'm really big on, and even with all my ideas, all the businesses or the apps and the people who I help to support, is really kind of creating more opportunities within the community, right? A lot of my apps have, whether it is a a maker component to it, allowing people who, say, have more like a creative background to be able to take advantage of some of the things that big tech has to offer. I think during the pandemic, it was very obvious to me, like, all the companies that were making money were like the Amazons, the, people who, once again, didn't need the money as much as the smaller folks. And for me, like, I always saw technology, the skills and the things that I could do to be potentially a force for good or a multiplier. And so I think a lot about how can I multiply my skills, my effect, when I have either the right people or the right team or the right really community around me. And so for me, it's the reason that, although I have a lot to do myself, if there's an app or an idea that I truly believe in and I think is going to help the community of the founder, I'm in.
My man. Damola Omotosho, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, by the way, check us out, Swift Studios, Swift with a Y.io.
Alicia Kirkland, where I saw Alicia. There she is. There you go.
Howdy, howdy.
How are we doing today?
Great. Hey, how you doing?
Another sunny day in Portland.
Actually, surprisingly, yes.
Yeah, if it's not raining, I'm not complaining.
Oh, yeah.
That's my thing. Let's start with your first question. You had an experience in the startup world before becoming the co-founder and CTO of a startup. What surprised you the most about taking on the co-founder role from working in a startup previously?
Ooh, you have to manage the project and timelines and deadlines. I think for me, I'm a computer science major, software engineer, really DevOps specifically. So we have a tendency to be very experimental, and we're building new things, and like deadlines is something I just now came around to in the last 5 years, specifically since I've been consulting. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, it's fascinating how many of the founders that we work with, they want to go solve a problem or make a thing, but they never think about managing people. I remember when we were raising for our Series A for Kids Go, and somebody asked Jelani, like, what's your process for hiring people? And he was like, we don't have a process. We don't have a process. And I was like, we totally have a process. He's not part of it, but we totally have a process. Next question for you. How has working on a startup changed your perspective and approach to your work today? And tell us about what you're working on today.
Right now I'm working for a startup that makes robotics fleet management software. So install an agent or on your robot, and we can collect all the system metrics and put it in a nice visualization software. And I'm building out the security and compliance program. Just small, something small. But no, I kind of, it's been really cool to kind of dip in and dip out of consulting because it allows me to be creative, like someone was just mentioning, of getting to be a part of every industry. I've been in legal tech, public transportation tech, med tech, robots now. So I've been kind of all over the place, and I love that. It just keeps things interesting, and even part of being a co-founder is that's I think why I kind of went into consulting, because when you're a co-founder, it's like your baby, but when you're a consultant, it's like you're the cool aunt. Like you just get to come in and propose all the changes and stuff, and then you get to leave. So yeah.
That's awesome. It's fascinating how you talk about technology. It reminds me of one of the things Rick talks about of, technology going from a silo or a one vertical to technology enables every industry. If you ever go and roast beans with Ian, he uses an app to roast his beans and check the levels of temperature, which I would have never thought you'd plug a laptop into a oven while you're making coffee, but technology is literally everywhere.
I mean, they got the wireless thermometers for your steak in the oven, so it
makes sense, right? For someone who's thinking about starting something new or joining a startup, what advice do you have for them before they make that jump?
So starting something new, I guess it's really the same answer, which is just take the risk. I personally have never worked at a big company before, which there's good and bad. The good of that is I'm always prepared to pivot. and that's really great. I'm on my journey to working somewhere for longer than 2 years, but I also wonder sometimes if that's just my journey. I really love, especially consulting. It makes having a day job more bearable, but no, just take that risk. Like, sometimes I think people have the tendency to want to put something out when it's perfect, but you're never going to get to perfect if you don't start somewhere. So one thing they always say in tech is fail fast. So I just try to encourage people, like, just do it. If you fail, okay. Like, you didn't have it before, you don't have it now. Move on, right? So yeah.
At least you know how not to do it if it doesn't go well, right? Anything you're excited about in 2025?
Leaning into the Portland community more. I've spent a few years away, and I'm back now, and I'm excited to work and put out some good stuff.
That's awesome. Well, welcome back. Thank you for coming. Ola. The aunt we all wish we had.
Hey.
Oh, see, product play right from the jump. The jump.
I'm thinking everybody's hungry, so I have to come with something.
We eat 3 times a day.
Yes.
Come on.
Without food, you can't do nothing.
Ola, introduce yourself and tell us about what you do.
Okay, my name is Ola, and Ola Elkanah, and I'm from Nigeria. So I do African food and easy to make. We all remember all those movies you watched on Nollywood on YouTube. It takes forever to cook African food. I call myself the queen of soft life women. I have come to make life easy for anyone who wants to eat African food.
Ola was one of the examples of, for those that have been to multiple pitch blacks, there's a few people along the way that they get like 3 or 4 words in, and you're like, oh, that's one of the winners. Ola was definitely one of those for us. So Ola, you're not based here in Portland. You're down in Salem.
I'm in Salem.
Talk to us about how supportive Salem's ecosystem has been for you as a founder, and what changes and things that you're seeing evolve over time. We've got Evan here visiting us from Seattle here for the event today, which is awesome. So it's great to see the community grow and evolve. But like, talk about what goes on down in Salem and how you're growing your connections here.
I would say nothing much is going on in Salem. That's why I'm always here. Yes, thank goodness. Once a year, I think EON comes to Salem, so I'm happy to be part of that. But apart from that, I'm always here, and I would say probably God has just helped me to build my own community. I have a front store, so if someone is new, maybe from somewhere, they're like, just Google Africans in Salem, my store just pops up. And it's so funny the way I save people's number on my phone. I'm like, Rachel, Cameroon, Rachel, Tanzania, Rachel. I just put them by their countries. That's the way I save people. So God, I've just been like the melting pot for a lot of people in Salem.
Yeah. Are there some things of the uniqueness of Salem that we could be integrating here in the larger community that I imagine there's not a ton of us down there. I went to college down there not too long, well, it was a long time ago. And there wasn't a lot of us there, but are there some things from the uniqueness of being in a smaller town with not a lot of us that we could be integrating here in Portland?
I think I'm grateful that I got the idea of starting something in Salem. And Salem is pretty small, the community is not large, but I'll say, everything still happens here in Portland or Beaverton, so I don't know what else can come up in Salem, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you're excited about for 2025.
Oh my goodness. So this year, after Pitch Black last year, I didn't even know about farmers markets. So from True Build, I did a few farmers market, and people kept calling me, are you coming next week? I'm like, no, it's just once in 3 or 4 months. And for 2025, I decided to do planning to do more farmers markets because people taste the food. Sometimes I surprise myself too. I'm like, I didn't even know this was, it's good, and probably I did. This is my latest product, brown rice and lentils mix for 2025. So I'm excited to probably do more farmers market this year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. For those that don't know it, with Built Oregon, we have our Bridges program where we help BIPOC founders get into stores. And also one of the things that Mitch created there was we buy out 2 different farmers markets for the entire season. So PSU and then Beaverton, they're 2 of the largest farmers markets in the state. And then we give the free booth away to different BIPOC founders. And so you were there, Ian was there. I did a day that Ian was in the Beaverton farmers market, and I got really upset while I was there because one woman came up and was like, "Oh, this is so cute. I hope it goes somewhere." And I'm like, "He's got a James Beard award," and he was like, "Nope, don't say anything. She's gonna buy stuff." Yes, and he just laughs. And by the end of the day, the neighbors on either side of us were like selling his stuff for him. So I can only imagine how it went for you being at one of the farmers markets.
Yes, it's been very, very good. Every time I just get a call. "Oh, are you not here?" I'm like, "No." So I plan doing more this year, which I've not even registered, but I will.
Okay. Is there a farmers market in Salem that maybe
There is. I think it just opened up this month, and life has just been crazy busy, which I plan to do. Because I have a storefront, so it's really difficult leaving my store, and we all know staffing is something else. Yeah. So if it's not yours, it's not yours. Nobody can do your job the way you will do it. So I plan probably doing once a month.
Okay.
So that's my 2025 goal.
That's awesome. Thank you, Alyssa. Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
Fresh, come on up. Man, easily the most dapper person in any room you will walk in will be this man right here. How are we doing today?
I'm good.
Another example of somebody who pitched something at Pitch Black, now iterated, doing corporate, now working on something new. Take us through the journey of Dash Stock and really where it started and where you ended up being at, but tell us about kind of the origin story for that one.
Yeah, so I would say that the origin is rooted in entrepreneurship, right? Solving your own problems. And when I was growing up, I got pulled over a lot. And for those that don't know, Dash Stock was a consumer product, where we took a wallet and stuck it to your dashboard to make the transaction between law enforcement and you as the driver a lot more smooth and seamless in event that things could go awry, right? So I had personal experience with that when I was growing up. I got pulled over a lot. I got pulled over a lot when I was a young adult. And I've had some hairy situations, nothing that went completely left, but that was the root of it. It's like solving my own problem and taking the experience that I had with building consumer products, whether it be suits or other things of that nature, and trying to solve a real problem. So that was the root of it, and it evolved into what we pitched at Pitch Black, and it did well. We sold a decent amount of them and continued to, and over time I sat with it for a while, and it started to feel a little different to me. And I think one of the hardest things, I feel like someone mentioned it earlier, is knowing when to stop. And that is kind of a big learning. It's like you get told a lot to soldier on, fight through, pivot, do the next thing. Sometimes pivot just means stop doing the thing. So that's the evolution of that.
Yeah. I think this is one of the things I think Mitch is so great at with our accelerators, just helping people understand that your businesses are chapters, and it's not who you are, it's a chapter in your life. And sometimes we hold on to a chapter that's keeping us from our next amazing chapter. And how do we break through and get through that and celebrate what it was, but also know that the next thing is going to be amazing. Well, you've done the corporate world as well and navigated that successfully. And now I think builders build, right? And so now you're off to something next. Yeah. Talk to us about what Funner is and what's coming in 2025 there.
Yeah, well, again, the journey, it's like solving your own problems. I got a 10-year-old son, super active, super social kid, and it was actually my wife's idea. And Funner is a social scheduling platform for parents specifically, designed to help you coordinate, find, and book play dates for your kids. So if you think about community and connection at the core of that, and the fact that we've got a lot of technology around us today, a lot of things are moving really quickly with AI, you've got loneliness epidemic and all these things. Think about the kids that we're raising in this environment now. How are we going to serve them best? How are we going to go out and put more well-rounded humans out into the world? Our stamp on it is through play dates. Our kid would come to us with random sheets of paper, have like half a name on it, and it would just say play date. And we're like, I don't know this kid, I don't know this parent. but you figure out a way to make it happen, and you start texting around, you go through the student directory. We were like, there's an opportunity here, let's vet it out. So we started talking to parents, and it turned out that there was an opportunity, and we started pursuing it the latter part of last year, and we are moving into testing within the next couple of weeks. So Funner is here for parents and helping your kids hang out.
That's awesome. And why do that here in Portland? You guys could be in San Francisco, all these other places. Why do this here?
I think for us is similar to other folks. It's the community. I was fortunate. We've been here about 11 years or so. I met you early on. I met Rick early on. Met Ian early on. And it's just like when you have your tribe and you have people who support what you're doing and are just willing to throw down and help, make sure you get connected to resources, you can do a lot that people otherwise think you couldn't do, right? I lived in the Bay, great time. I lived there in 2008, 2006, 2007, great time to be in the Bay, but I come here as an adult, more of an adult, and the community is what's pushed us along. So being here, I don't have to uproot my family, my kid can thrive, he can continue to build in his community, and we, through technology, can build massive companies in Portland because we don't have to follow what everyone else is doing.
That's awesome. Thank you. Where can people find out more about Funner as you roll through things?
Funner.co. It's easy, FUNNR.co. Yeah, very simple.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah,
nice seeing you, man. Hi, Paige. How are you?
Great.
Yeah.
I was texting my family to be like, are you watching?
Of course you were.
Hi, kids.
The unofficial queen of Pitch Black is here, Paige Hendrix Buckner.
That is quite a title.
Yes. Things from our first, so we did our first year at my pub, and then you won the second year, and it was like from here to here. And this is another interview that could be a whole hour if we wanted to.
I promise to be pithy. I'm sorry. I will not.
Well, and I'm going to try and be, succinct as well. You have a presence when you're on any stage. Has that always been who you are?
No. No. So I did speech and debate in high school, and I had this amazing coach who worked really hard to help me get good at oratory, foreign extemp, and Lincoln Douglas debate. And I went to nationals 4 years in a row, so it's a lot of practice. And then I've just been practicing ever since. And I would say it is the skill I've worked on the longest in my life, and I work on the hardest. And there's never a time that I feel like I'm going to get on stage and crush it, which I think helps me stay sharp. So I work really hard to just keep getting better every time.
That's awesome. What role, Paige was a teacher. What role, I think the hardest audience to get the attention of is kids.
Or respect of.
That part.
They do not give a shit about you. Are there children here?
None
Sorry,
of the stuff
my
I
children
do
are watching. They're
is
used
cool
to
with
this.
my kids. Yeah, no, none of the stuff. What role does being a teacher you think played in how you show up today?
Yeah, I mean, I think being a teacher to me is about being a forever learner, and it's about trying to understand what your students need from you at all times to be the most effective teacher possible. So I taught 4th and 5th graders in Las Vegas, and I remember graduating from college and feeling like so smart with my GPA, and these kids did not care. Like, I've never had kids be so blank-faced as to when I explained like what I did before I came to them. And it really does show, like, it doesn't matter what you do outside of that classroom, it's what you do inside that classroom. And I think there's a level of hustle to be a teacher too, and you're constantly pivoting. Like, that book didn't work for you, let's try this book, or that level didn't work for you, let's try this level. And so I think it's made me agile. I think it's made me scrappy. I think also I'm always striving to get understanding from the people that I work with, whether it's our partners or a board or our team or our community members. So yeah, I'll forever be a teacher, and I feel really grateful for that skill set.
That's awesome. Thank you. You're one of the few competitors in our alumni that sold the company. What was the hardest stuff about What do
I'd
you
never
wish you
done it
would've known?
before, so I just had no clue what I was doing, and I would do it really differently now, I think. But I think you do what you can with what you got at the time. And for context, this was 2019. We were heading into 2020. My son, Amari, who's now 6 at the time, was an infant, and I was also balancing a lot of other responsibilities, including a full-time job. So I think that I would have talked to a lot of other folks. I did get some great advice, but I would have talked to a lot of other folks about their experience. And I would say, for anybody who starts a business, figure out what the end goal is. And if selling a business is what you want to do, then talk to somebody who's actually done it well and get their advice and build a strategy.
That's awesome. Tell us about what you're working on today.
Yeah, I'm really proud. So I'm the CEO of a nonprofit called All Raise, and we're a national organization that supports the success of women and non-binary venture capitalists. So I spend most of my time talking to VCs around the country. I get to head to DC tomorrow to talk to some of our folks. We also have men who are very involved in our community and our work, and it's incredible. So for us, what that means is we're trying to help women and non-binary VCs get a seat, keep their seat, and be wildly successful in their seat. And that's because we know it's good for firm outcomes. It's good for the founders that they invest in. And we also know that if you can change who writes checks, you can change who gets checks. And so this is the unique way that we're focused on making an impact on the innovation ecosystem, I would say globally.
That's awesome. Will we see Paige, the founder, again in the future?
Ask my husband, do I get to be a founder of the future, babe? Well, I would say that first of all, I love my job so much. I don't think, even as a founder, I've ever had a job where I felt like, wow, I am in flow. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, exactly when I'm supposed to be here. So I love my work. I do think I could see a world in which I start something that's related to storytelling. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but someday I'd love to write screenplays. Like, I'd love to get into, I know, I've never done it either, right? The audacity, but I'm like, so, it excites me so much, but at this time in my life, I'm really happy to have a job, and it is a very busy one, so I will keep doing this for now.
Awesome. Thank you, Paige. Appreciate you. Yeah. Come on over. We did not plan the shirt thing. That just...
Yeah, we did.
That happened. Well, maybe...
We have a secret text thread. We wear the same thing every day. It's great.
All right. We can't say the quiet stuff
So it's been many years working with Steven on Pitch Black, so I had a few questions for Steven, since he's the one asking all the questions.
Well, and also, for those that don't know, behind any of our events is Mitch. And a lot of those events Mitch didn't get to come to, quite literally. Let's see.
Everybody would show up at the Pasteurizer.
Yeah.
Sold out. And they'd be like, I have this text from Steven that says I have a ticket. And we'd be like, oh, okay, I guess. Come on in.
Mitch is now the director of the Portland Office of Small Business. And so now I get to return the favor because I'll meet people and they'll be like, well, I know Mitch, and he runs the Office of Small Business. And I'm like,
So I'm going to start off with just, can we get a round of applause for Steven? Stand up, Steven. Take your flowers in. Take your flowers.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with this question that Precious gave me for you, which you know is going to be a good one.
Going to be a good one, probably.
When did you decide you wanted to become the Steven that you are today? Thank you, Precious.
Man, Steven is the result of two amazing parents. My dad was a high school dropout. My mom, software engineer. And they both, I grew up here and in Detroit, and growing up here in the 80s and 90s, like my parents would just collect black and brown people.
Which side of Detroit?
East side, come on. West side, come on. Don't get me started. This is a happy event. I remember, for those of folks that are from Portland, in the mid '80s, Oregon Episcopal School had some students and some teachers that went missing on Mount Hood, and unfortunately, some of them passed away. And on the day that happened, I remember coming home from school, and my dad was like packing his to-go bag, like he was going camping or fishing or something, and we were supposed to hang out that day. I'm the youngest of 5 boys, always trying to get my time with my dad. And he was like, I gotta go. And I was like, we gotta hang out. And he said, no, I'm going to Mount Hood. These people are missing. I'm going. And I was like, why? And he said, in order for people to be found, someone's gotta be looking for them. And like, that's it in a nutshell, right? And so I think my career working in finance and working with founders is like, Ian needs to be found. Someone's got to be looking for him, right, for that idea to happen. And so it's been really cool to play a small role in people's journeys. And sometimes that's like, Intel don't need you anymore. Like now's like, let's go do this shit, And so that's the fun part of what we get to do with people, even when they don't see it necessarily. So, yeah.
Talk about what community means to you, because that word is thrown around so much, like community building and all that stuff. What's it mean to you?
I don't know. I think here Portland's a hard place to crack into if you're not from here. But like once you're in, you're in. And so, I think about like when we're doing events or, Dave Bargos is doing an event or somebody's doing an event, it's like you go to the event. You don't need to know why the event's happening. It's just, that's what you do. You go to their event. And vice versa. They come to your event. And so I think, we're just a place that believes in community over competition. When we started our brew pub back in 2013, it was like our neighbor who also was a brew pub down the street who helped us get open. Like our literal competitor was like, no, you can store your kegs here. And that's a very Portland community story, right?
Looking back, all these years on Pitch Black, if you go back to young-ish Steven, when you started Pitch Black, any advice you give him? Anything you change?
No, I mean, we tried to get rid of it. Like, Pitch Black was just supposed to be a one-time thing. It wasn't supposed to be, we've done 13 events across the country now.
That would have been nice to know with all the
Right.
behind-the-scenes operations.
Right? I don't know. I saw that there was this opportunity for us to celebrate folks that wasn't happening, and I think you can either sit back and you can wait for someone else to do it, or you can just kind of look around with your friends and go like, all right, we can just do this ourselves. And whether it's 6 people or 600 people, it's always been the same vibe. I think even from that first year, we knew it's like, oh, there's something to this. I don't quite know what it is, but I want this feeling again. And so I think the chase was started then, and then to take it to other cities has really been, just amazing.
Kind of circling back on the other cities, what's your plans for Pitch Black going forwards? Because we're not doing the big events. So talk a little about Pitch Black food and then what you're looking to do.
So, I think we figured out the secret sauce of the event is a couple things. So one, the celebration component and helping ecosystems reframe their idea of what it means to be a Black founder. Oftentimes people are like, oh, of course you do barbecue or barber shops or whatever. They don't know we have a Black-owned drone company in Portland. And so being able to highlight and bring those people to the front really helps people reframe what it means to be a Black founder. And so for us, we want to do that in other cities. And we know the number one thing that keeps founders from scaling their businesses is not financial capital, it's social capital. And so the whole impetus for us doing Seattle, Austin, and then the events we did in Philadelphia was to take founders from Portland to these other places so that they can then say, I know people in this area, and they said they would like Deadstock if we were here. And so, we were in Philadelphia, Ian was in Seattle, and vice versa, take people from these other cities and know that they can have entree into Portland. And so our future is having 6 other sister cities where we're opening that social capital for Black founders. So if you're a Black founder here in Portland, you've got access to LA, Atlanta, Detroit, New York, Houston, to be able to scale your business and try a new customer base, and vice versa. If somebody's doing something great in Atlanta, Portland's a great place to have an opportunity to grow your customer base.
Pitch Black food. Talk about that.
Pitch Black food. So the other thing we realized is like it's great to do a party for 600 people. I do not enjoy the big Pitch Black on the day of. It's a lot, and it's a blur.
You telling me 600 tells me everything I need to know, because I think it seats 550.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But you sold 600 tickets.
No,
so.
exactly. We wanted something that was a little more curated, and so we kind of stole a piece of what TEDx Portland does, where they have their big TEDx event, but they also do salons. And so our version of salons was, well, what are the things that Portland revolves around? The arts, sneakers, food, the outdoors. And so when we did a short list of events, and the people that have the hardest time pitching on our traditional stage, it's people that make food. And so, Pitch Black food, it's a meal where people are pitching via the meal, and then you do the normal thing you do. We're gonna have a good time, and everyone's gonna get to vote.
Wait. Just a second. Speaking of Pitch Black.
So Pitch Black food sold out in 9 hours, and I wish we had more tickets. Yes.
We have 2 tickets in there, right?
2 tickets today. So the first one, 942061. What's that? Shabri already got her ticket.
Precious is taking it. Precious is taking it.
Oh. Precious got a ticket. All right, there's one. Next one, 942058.
Must be present to win.
Gotta be. All right. Next up, 942049.
Yes! Speech. I'm kidding.
All right, I will connect with you all, make sure you all get tickets. Thanks, Amy.
2 more questions for you.
2 more questions.
When you launched this in the whitest city in the U.S., you've doubled down. You spent so much time elevating the Black community here in Portland over the past 8-10 years. What do you see from an evolution of when you started Pitch Black to now?
I think I just see a boldness for folks. I mean, I think, the favorite folks that we love working with are the people that have a great day job. They're working at Intel, they're working at Nike, whatever. And then they finally get that idea of like, I could do this on my own. And so, I think about David from last year, who was the head of innovation at Nike and leaves an amazing job. Leaves an amazing job to go and bet on himself, right? And so I really see our role as how do we help more Davids go and make that jump, even if it's fleeting, right? So it's not about like you don't necessarily go back, but just know that like I can make a plan and there's a community here that's going to support me in doing my thing my way, even if I go back to corporate life after a certain amount of time.
Yeah. And the last question is, over the years, given a lot of money away to the founders on the stage and stuff like that, but beyond money, we have a live stream here, all these people.
Yeah.
How can people in this room and everybody out there consistently show up and support businesses?
Buy their stuff. I mean, the biggest thing we can do from an economic standpoint is buy people's stuff. So today, Portlanders spent $7.2 million on food. Imagine if everyone said, we're going to spend that $7.2 million with a Black business during Black History Month, right? And so it's not the VCs, it's not bankers, it's not a foundation, it's the individual decisions that we make each and every day around where we're going to get coffee, where we're going to get that toxic candle or not toxic candle, and have fun making said candle. Those are the things that, from a financial standpoint, really have the biggest impact. And at the end of the day, like, these businesses are the identity of our city, right? It's like you don't go to Target or Costco to, for a first date or to ask someone to marry you. You
go to Deadstock, right?
Duh. He was showing me what they're doing for Valentine's Day this weekend. So, like, you literally might go to Deadstock. I don't know. His and her shoes? I don't know. It's happened at Sneaker Week? See?
I will say the final thing too is also like buy their stuff, follow them on Instagram. Pick 10 businesses a day and just follow them. Sign up for newsletters. All that stuff matters for all these companies because it's super expensive to get new customers these days. So as much as you can, do the little things day in, day out. I just want to personally say, as my friend who's built this thing, a huge thank you for all the time that you've spent.
We would not be here if it wasn't for this guy as well, so thank you.
My last thing is, can we get all the speakers to come up here and take a picture with Mr. Steven? So all of you can take a picture with all the speakers and Steven and share it. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think we have the space for the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you get to go home, but you can't stay here. Please, if you haven't, take something to drink. We got some cold, non-alcoholic beverages over here in the cooler. And thank you, Reverend, for coming. And thank you again for Instrument for hosting us.